ladies and gentlemen. This is Spurs TV, and tonight I've got David with me. So first of all, we're going to talk a bit about Wolves, and then a bit of a transfer update as well, because there has been some transfer news this past couple of days. Some people leaving, thankfully, and we might get some possible ins. So first of all, just on Wolves, David, I know you told me that you only saw like the last second half, really, didn't you?
I only saw the last sort of 35 minutes or so. Yeah, I mean, from what because I kept getting notifications on my watch at work at halftime, people's tweets and things like that, and it sounds like the first half was very lackluster. Wolves were having chances, but they were mainly from the edge of the box. There wasn't anything drastically clear cut. There wasn't anything that you say, right, that's a 10 out of 10 miss, you're going to regret that sort of thing. But it wasn't. Spurs were far from comfortable. Were a bit sloppy in possession, weren't quick enough, weren't sharp enough, weren't aggressive enough out of possession. Second half, from what I watched, seemed completely different. We were very, very aggressive. We were pressing a lot higher. We sat a lot deeper in the first half from what I looked at. The halftime analysis was when I started watching the game, actually. And it seemed like we were a lot more aggressive in the second half. We were pressing higher up the pitch. The kind of shape, the fullbacks were tucked in a little bit tighter. We looked a bit more compact, not really giving Wolves any room to break out. It was mainly long balls. The threaded passes through midfields weren't coming off. Højbjerg and Bentancur were intercepting them on every other occasion. And then obviously we hit the bar, we hit the post twice. And then obviously Kane scores. And what a well-worked goal it was, by the way. The intelligence from Perisic. I've liked him taking set pieces when he's come on, if I'm honest. But it was a great cross from Sonny. You can see the intelligence from Kane. We know how good he is. Everyone knows how good he is. We've seen him for years now. But again, it always ceases to amaze me. The intelligence he has to look at Perisic, to look at the way his head moves on the ball, and to get himself into an area of the pitch in which he is completely and utterly unmarked. He's lost his man. And bearing in mind, at the time, if you actually look back when the corner's taken, he's got almost arms around his shoulders, arms around his waist, tight onto him. He's gone left and dodged to the right as the flick-on's in. Jose Sarr, last year, one of the best keepers in the league, didn't stand a chance. And it was a great goal. And to be honest with you, from even the start of the first half a little bit, but mainly the start of the second half, but mainly the first half. And I thought Nathan Collins for Wolves played absolutely fantastically. He pretty much had Kane's number in the first half. Kane didn't really look aggressive enough. He didn't look, I'm not going to say committed enough because it's the wrong word, but there was a little bit missing. And in that second half, we had that with Kane quite a few times. A couple of his turns were quicker, sharper, and it was just an overall better half performance. I am getting slightly worried about the fact that our first half performances in a lot of games consistently seem to start slow. And whatever Conte says at halftime, whether he throws a water bottle at their head, whatever it is that he does, it seems to be working. But can we have that same talk at the start of the game rather than halfway through? But other than that, well-round performance. If you look at the results we've had, our last three results, we picked up 7 points in 3 fixtures, which last year we picked up none. So it is a massive improvement. And the way we played against Wolves second half and the way we played against Southampton were complete unparalleled performances compared to where they were last year. The Chelsea one, 6-1 half and dozen. We didn't get battered by the scoreline, but again, we both know that we should have lost that game. So for me personally, I'm taking the Chelsea result out of it because that should have been 2-1 to Chelsea full time. But the other 2 results, we played considerably better. We looked better as a squad, as a starting 11, than we did in those fixtures last year. And I thought Richarlison, again, for the second game in a row, the energy, the pace, the athleticism, the kind of aggressiveness he brings off the bench, it almost reignites the fire when we're playing, which I think is fantastic. It helps keep momentum, helps, grow the momentum, put the pressure on, and ultimately it led to the goal in the end.
So I know you didn't watch the first half, but the first half, to summarize for people who are watching, we were not good at all. Wolves dominated the midfield. You had Neves, Moutinho, and the new signing Nunes. Sorry, I said that wrong. Neto, and the other fullback, I can't say his name, is Al something. Forget me if I'm wrong.
Al Nazari. Al Nouri.
Something. He actually had a really good game. But in the first half, Wolves were literally all over us. Obviously, we didn't have a shot, from what I remember. And it did take something for Conte to change it. Now, I know you weren't there. I was actually there. There was some booing at halftime. Do you think, considering how badly we played in the first half, do you think that's justified? Because I felt I didn't boo myself, but I felt like they didn't do anything wrong. We didn't play.
I think it's one of those things where we've had an outstanding transfer window. We've seen Arsenal have an outstanding transfer window, and we're sitting there now going, we may not get top four if Chelsea pull their finger out their arse in the last 2 weeks of the window, or last 7 or 8 days, whatever it is, 21st now. So the last 9 days of the window. If Chelsea pull their finger out their arse, it gels well and whatever, there's every chance that they can get top four. Liverpool and City are stronger than us, and it'll take a lot for them not to come in. So we're looking at that and saying top four isn't a given. It was before the window started with the way we started the window. But Arsenal signings have hit the ground running. Saliba's come back, been brilliant. Gabriel Jesus has been absolutely outstanding. They look more like a team. They look more like a unit. Our top four position isn't guaranteed. So these games where we were dropping points last season, we cannot afford to drop the points again this season. And I'm not saying every game we're going to win, obviously not, but we need to be picking up the points against the newly promoted teams and the teams mid-table, your Brightons, your Aston Villas, whatever. These kind of games where Spurs have notoriously dropped points in the past, we need to be picking up those points this season. And I'm not expecting a massive jump in progress. I'm not expecting us to challenge for the title, but I am expecting us to be more comfortably top four. And given the Chelsea's and Arsenal's positions, I believe it's not as comfortable as I thought it was going to be based on the end of last season. And so for me, those boos are Spurs fans saying, we were told the expectation was going to be raised. We've seen the competition raised. Start playing like we've raised. And I think the biggest problem with Spurs, it's always been consistency, but it's always been starting slow as well. Even Pochettino, even in his best Spurs team, we'd be at half-time 1-0 down, sitting there going, what the fuck was that? And then we'd come out in the second half and it would be a completely, entirely different team. And that notoriously has been a theme through Spurs, through generations, through manager after manager. Spurs have started. So I don't remember the last time Spurs scored in the first minute.
I don't. It'll probably it'll probably be back in the 90s when we did that. I'm not going to lie.
No, I think we might have done once or twice under Poch, but again,
I think
Poch was there
Eriksen,
for a 6-year period.
My head, Eriksen, do you remember?
Eriksen against Man United. I was actually at that game.
I remember because that was on my birthday, I think.
I was at that game, actually. We beat Man United 2-0. I was helping an old man sit down. By the time we turned around, the ball was in the back of the net. We didn't get to see the process, but we just heard the whistle went as I sat him, helped him get to his seat because I was at the top at Wembley. And the goal was in the back of the net before I could blink. But again, that was more down to Man United's team being all over the place than it was Spurs having an outstanding level of quality, which created that chance. You look at the way Fulham played against Brentford at the weekend. The goal they scored, it was quick, it was sharp. The players' movements, they had 7 players in and around the attacking box. I get Conte doesn't play that attacking, but he does play that aggressive. And I want to see those players go into start a game like it's the last minute and you're going for a winner. Because 9 times out of 10, that's when you can catch teams. That's when you can get the goal. And then all of a sudden you're 1-0 up. And at that point, you keep the momentum on. You keep the pressure on. You get through to halftime 1-0 up. You get through to the 60th minute. They're slowly building way back into the game. You bring on someone like Richarlison, which is why we signed that caliber and that type of player for that amount of money. He brings the pace. He brings the energy. We get the second goal. It's game over. And I want to see Spurs have that first goal and that level of security before halftime. I'm not saying we have to go and be 4-0 up at halftime, but we need to be a bit more secure by halftime. And I think the booing just signified the fact that this team isn't quite where we were told it was going to be based on the amount we sent and the signings we brought in. And I think it will come with 6 or 7 weeks worth of season being an extended pre-season, getting used to playing that way, getting used to the subs and the options we've got. For me personally, disappointed not to see Spence on the bench. I know we're going to talk about fullbacks and signings in a minute, but like Richarlison, that burst of energy and that burst of pace, I think alongside Perisic on the other fullback could have given that bit more momentum a bit earlier in the game than what we might have got with how we played. Half time, 0-0, take off Emerson, bring on Spence, tell Sanchez, look, you need to cover it. I thought Sanchez played well in the second half.
He did all right, but his clearances for me are a bit suspect.
He is a squad player. He's no more and no less. He is a squad player.
I just wish he had more, like, when he clears the ball,
a bit more composure and a bit more
conviction as well.
Yeah,
he just kind of like, I'm just going to hit it and hope.
But again, that's something that you gain from playing week in, week out, and he's not going to do that at Spurs anymore. But again, I think if we could get an experienced centre back in there to start in those kind of games where we're like, actually, we need the energy and we need the aggression and we need the athleticism of Spence, but we need the maturity and experience of someone else to sit behind him. Romero, you're out for the game. We'll move someone else there. Even, dare I say it, moving Eric Dyer wide wouldn't necessarily be the worst thing in the world if you brought on someone like Spence. But you need someone in the middle, and I don't trust Sanchez in the middle as far as I can throw it. Maybe that's where Lenglet could come into play, but again, we'll see how his time goes at Spurs. But overall, I think it's just about the boos for me are a sign to say we're not quite where we were told we were going to be yet. And I think they're also a little bit of momentum from the Chelsea game as well, in the sense of we expected to go and be competitive, and we absolutely shithoused a result in which we had no right to get whatsoever.
We had no right for a point for that game.
No, because the referee was an absolute, pardon my French, dipshit. So for me personally, I still, even though we got a point, I still see that as a 2-1 loss, because the referee got the decision wrong and the goal shouldn't have stood for the second goal.
The pulling of the hair as well.
Yeah, that's what I say. That should have ruled out that should have given a free kick to Chelsea. We don't get the corner. We may still get a corner. We may still score. But 9 times out of 10, that rules out your goal. Yeah. At that point, then, for me personally, I say, right, okay, that's fair enough. So the boos are a little bit of momentum of, we know we got lucky against Chelsea, really lucky against Chelsea. We've not started this first half against Wolves like we care about how we played against Chelsea. I think that's part of where it's come from as well. Second half, completely different team. And we need to go into the games. To be honest with you, I would consider us starting Richarlison. Yeah, because he's got...
I was going to ask you about that, actually.
When we spoke about it, when we were first linked to him, we said that he's a great player and he offers us something different that we don't have. It's a different pace and aggression to the way Son has it, which is great. You need that in a striker. But I just don't know if our midfield options are good enough just yet. Maybe if we bring someone like that Malinovsky in, who's played a bit deeper traditionally, got the passing range, got the shooting range, maybe a midfield free of him, Bentancur and Højbjerg. I did think Højbjerg in the second half was fantastic. If I'm honest, I thought he was winning the ball back well. He looked sharper. The first half, he did look a little bit off the pace, but second half, I thought he was much better. Maybe it's just about having 1 or 2 more players in that can give us a few more options. But yeah, I think I would like to see Kane, Son and Richarlison start, with Kane sort of being the one to drop deep and then Son and Richarlison becoming central, with Kane laying the passes into them. I think the two of them playing off of each other with what Richarlison brought in the last 2 games, I think it could be really, really effective for Spurs.
See, I was going to touch on Son because me, amongst other Spurs fans, I'm not really that happy with his performances the past 3 games. I know he got that corner for the goal, but he's not been his best. And it's the same. You could even level the same criticism for me with Kane. I don't think Kane's even started that well.
I was just going to say
that. Would you consider dropping? I'd say ideally Son, but Son or Kane for Richarlison for Forest. And the reason I say Son is because Richarlison plays off the left primarily, and I don't see us dropping Kane. So, like, for me,
I struggle, and the reason why I say I struggle is because it comes back to the same thing Fergie said for years. Regardless of our players playing, there are certain calibers of players in the world which, no matter how bad they play, that one chance will fall to them. And you have any other player in your squad and they're going to miss it. But that one player or that 2 players will score it. And Son and Kane have proven time and time again that when they get that one chance, they take it. Spurs have a history of substituting on players that don't take those chances and dropping points as a result of it? I would say no. I would say this is the time in which we have to give them the faith. Forest, and my dad would ever kill me if he ever heard me say this, Forest is the perfect game for Kane to go and bag 3 or 4 goals. So it's a perfect game for Son to bag a hat trick.
I don't think it'd be as easy as you think, though. I mean, Forest signed 16 players, didn't they? I think.
But again, we're not playing FIFA. They don't.
I know, but
put 16 players into one squad and go, right, we're going to stay up.
Their owner's pretty serious about them now.
He is serious, and I think some of the players they've signed have been brilliant.
Morgan Gibbs White, is that a name?
44 million on him is a joke, by the way.
Yeah.
For another 16 million, they could have got a second-hand Ndombele, but let's let that go.
Yeah.
But do you know what I mean? I think for me personally, are we home or away against Forest? We're away, aren't we?
Away.
I'm gonna still stick with it, but I'm gonna say I'd like to see. This is gonna seem very, very stupid, potentially. At half time, if we're not ahead, I'd like to see us drop Kulusevski back to wing back, and I would like to see us bring on Richarlison and go with Richarlison and Son up front with Kane just in behind. And I'm not saying, by the way, again, not FIFA, the players don't just stay in that position when they play. I want to see Son drift out to the left with Kane and Richarlison making runs in. I want to see Kane drop either side to play the ball and Richarlison and Son making runs. I want to see Richarlison play off Kane because I think we can get a lot from him by doing that. He was very clinical at Everton. He had very limited chances and he took those chances. And I think if we get them playing well, there's nothing stopping that being the case. And I think the key to that, if we're going to start Perisic, I would be inclined to start Kulusevski at right wing back from the start because they've both got similar qualities in terms of their physical stature, their presence, their pace is identical. Their fitness and their energy, their athleticism is identical. They're both inverted, which means we're going to be playing long balls over to Kane, to Son, to Richarlison, which the respective players can knock the ball down for each other. I'm not saying, by the way, we're going to play route one, hump it to Mitrovic and knock it down. I'm just saying the way Conte plays, he likes his wing-backs to cut in and spring passes across the pitch. And I think the two of those there, it might be a bit naive of me to say, but if we go with the two of those there, Kane's proven he can help cover in midfield, and then Son and Richarlison up front. For me personally, I think that's how I would start.
Another thing I'm going to pose to you is because we got flooded again in midfield by Wolves. I know the score didn't reflect that, but do you think Conte should change to a 3-5-2, at least in some games, and put in Basuma, who we have signed, by the way, in like a Basuma, Bentancur, Højbjerg as a 3? For example, against Wolves, I was actually like insisting we play a 3-5-2 because I thought we were going to outnumbered in midfield, which did happen. I felt like it did happen.
I'm now going to say something that's going to bring back nightmares against Conte's Chelsea. If we're going to do that, it would be a game in which I would move. I would go as far as to say, if we let's say we start with Perisic on the left, Kulusevski on the right wing back, I would be inclined to drop Son to left wing back, move Perisic into central midfield, and have Perisic, Bentancur, Højbjerg. Because Perisic can play absolutely anywhere. He's shown that for various clubs he's played at. He's got the passing, he's got the physicality, he's got the pace, he's got the energy, he's got the composure, the maturity. Son at left wing back petrifies me. But if we are 0-0 against Forest, 10 minutes to go, and we're pressing who better to have burning down the side of Nico Williams than Heung-min Son? I don't know. I think if we were going to go to a 3-man midfield, it has to be later in the game. We have to start with 3 interchangeable.
Because we did finish like that against Wolves. I don't know if you noticed.
Go like that. If we go 3-0 up against Forest at half time, absolutely. Take off Son, go with Basuma in midfield, job done, fair enough.
I'm not saying it's like a long-term thing. It's more just like, for example, a game against Wolves where historically we get outnumbered in midfield. I was pretty much pushing for us to go to a 3-5-2 because we struggled.
I just don't think we've got the players in central midfield to bridge the gap between the midfield and attack. I think you'll find we'll win the ball back really quickly and really well, And as soon as we attack foot, we're going to lose the ball again. Because the gap between Kane and Son or Kane and Richarlison and the midfield is too big. And we've not got a player who can play in the pocket, but we need a player who can play deeper and drift into the pocket.
Yeah.
And ideally, I hate to say it, that's going to be Kane in 6 or 7 years' time.
It will convert into that player because of, like,
once he's broken Series record, he won't give a fuck, and that'll be it. Someone like Malinowski, from what I've watched and what I've seen of him, he could be that player.
How about Zaniolo? Because we've been linked with Zaniolo as well.
He's torn both of his ACLs and he's only 22.
I know, I'm just saying.
For me, it's a no. And Roma don't want to sell him now either. So for me, it's a no. For me, it's a no.
Obviously, Madison's off the table, unfortunately, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, Brendan Rodgers has been a bit of a knob, isn't he, holding all of his players hostage. Apparently, Madison is down to the fact that Conte doesn't believe his work rate in winning the ball back is good enough in that position.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Which actually, I believe, was the reason why Pochettino didn't want him when he was at Norwich.
Because I remember we were linked with him for a very long time.
We were linked with him when he was at Coventry on loan, and we were linked with him again when he was at Norwich. And then again at Leicester. And when he was at Norwich, I'm pretty sure there was something where Pochettino said that Maddison wasn't ready, his pressing game wasn't ready for what Poch wanted.
Oh, really?
And bearing in mind, the 10 we had at the time was Dele Alli, pace, energy, drive, won the ball back. He sprinted at there wasn't an opportunity where Dele wasn't sprinting to the ball. And to be honest with you, I haven't seen Maddison do that. And for 70, 80 million that Leicester are going to charge, you need a player that actually is that perfect piece for that kind of money. And I think
we touched on a few outs quickly. And Dombele's finally gone to Naples, at least on loan.
I wish him the best. Yeah. Don't come back.
And Lo Celso, I don't think it's been announced yet, but he's basically on his way.
Yeah, it has been announced. Yeah, he played today for Villarreal. Do you know what? I like Lo Celso's actual mold as a player. If you looked at him statistically in Spain, that is exactly what we need to make the 3-man midfield work. Just not him, because he hasn't got it.
Yeah,
he just hasn't got it. Someone like, I know he's at Liverpool now, but someone like Thiago would have been that perfect mold.
Oh, Thiago is a perfect player for us in that.
We need to look at that kind of mold. That's why we've been linked with, obviously, Milinkovic-Savic for donkeys.
He's a quality player.
I would have loved Fabian again from Napoli, but obviously he's gone to PSG now. We need that all-round 10 out of 10 in every position, in every role, kind of midfielder who can bridge the gap, but who you would trust to win the ball back well. Eriksen, I don't think, has the energy or pace for it. If you're looking at Man United, he's looked off the pace from the minute he started back there. Granted, it's Man United and I'd look off the pace as well, but they're a mess. So trying to find that kind of player this late in the window is going to be difficult. We almost need, I don't know if he's willing to come out of retirement, we also almost need the Yaya Toure kind of mold.
I mean, he is a coach there, so maybe he fancies that. I don't know.
If we cut his ankles off, shrink him down a bit, put a kit on, no one will notice. we need someone. I tell you who would be perfect, and I know he's signed a 2-year deal, and I know there's not a chance he ever comes back to Spurs, but Luka Modric should be perfect for us.
Oh, mate, I love Luka back. I'd actually love him.
We need to look for that kind of caliber player, and maybe Dani Olmo from Leipzig. When I've watched him, he looks like Nkunku would be a perfect fit.
Nkunku's going to cost like 80, 90 million.
Next year, his release clause is 55 million, to my knowledge, because he signed a new contract, extending it by 2 years with a European Champions League release clause next year for top clubs for 55 million.
I'll take him in a heartbeat. I like Nkunku.
Look at the whole centre situation we're having with the left-sided centre-back. We've not signed a permanent one because we can get those exact same players for cheaper next season.
Gavardio's got a release clause, hasn't he, of 42 million?
Which comes into effect next season. Now, why spend 90 million? Why spend 90 million on one player this year when you can get 90 million for 2 perfect players next year? And for me, I'm all for Spurs spending a lot of money. I'm all for, if Conte believes this squad can get him top 4 without overpaying for players that in 18 months, 12 months time, he can get for pennies compared to how much we'd be paying now, then I would rather wait personally. And I know it's frustrating for certain fans, but they say Rome wasn't built in a day. The squad's improved massively. As Conte said, he was never expecting it to go from scraping top 4 to title winners in one transfer window. He was expecting to show proof that they were willing to work towards it, which we've done. I think next year it'll be 70, 80 million on a left-sided centre-back. It'll be 40 or 50 million on a right wing-back. And it'll be 40 or 50 million on that central midfield mold we're looking for. And at that point, you look at that Spurs squad and say, there's nothing to suggest that squad cannot go and win the league with a little bit of luck and beating those teams that are going to be fighting for it as well. Somewhat, for me personally, if you were to say to me right now, 3 perfect signings for that mold, I'd go with Ndika because I like him a lot. 6'4", left-footed. He's tall, he's quick, he's strong, he's composed. And 40 million pounds would get him easily. I would like Barella from Inter Milan, and that's going to cost an arm and a leg. He is one of my favourite players to watch. He's just outstanding. You're looking at maybe 90 to 100 million euros for him. But for me, that would be a statement of intent.
Perfect player.
And you'll love this one, but Hakimi, for me, if he's interested in leaving PSG,
oh my God.
I don't think he will be with the way they're playing at the minute, because they're now playing a back 3, which he thrives in. But someone like that kind of, it's hard to say off the top of my head.
I wouldn't write off Hakimi though. Shall I say why? Because I saw a story on Twitter the other day. I don't know how reliable, right? Some sports Pito or something, who said that apparently Man United are looking.
I saw that, but it looked like a load of rubbish when I did my own nose diving.
So my little hope was like, please, Tottenham.
Yeah, it's sort of gone. I'll tell you a player I would like, and a player I think he's not going to be that kind of expensive, but a player I think Conte can mould is someone like Diego Dallo. From what I've seen of him at Man United, I like him a lot. I think he's got the quality under that kind of manager. He's got very similar, well-rounded ability to someone like Hakimi when Conte first got hold of him. For me, he's not the most glamorous signing in the world, but Jose Mourinho saw something in him. And whether Spurs fans, delusional ones, want to admit it or not, Jose Mourinho's talent ID while at Spurs was fantastic. So, someone like that. Other than that squad. Do you know what? If we were to say the perfect window, I'd bring back Vinicius just because I miss him and I loved him when he was at Spurs. Barella, 100 million euros. Ndika, 45 to 50 million euros. And that right wing back, 50 to 60 million euros. And that Spurs squad, you look at that and say that is capable of winning the league in a good season.
Also, I think for us, I'm going to touch on Anthony Gordon because this link doesn't seem to go away. Do you think, and also Chalobah, I don't know if you've seen the Chalobah link.
See, I like Chalobah a lot. I like him a lot. He's 6'4", he's tall, he's strong. Chelsea academy prospect, which they've shown over the years, their academy prospects are outstanding 9 times out of 10. For me personally, if Chelsea are willing to sell him to Spurs for anything less than 40 million, I'd be snapping it up straight away. He's 22. He's proven he's the perfect squad player for us, who has the potential to overtake Eric Dyer in that central centre-back role. He needs the experience, but what better to get that than at a Spurs squad where if you were to say to me right now, would I rather him or Davinson Sanchez? I'm taking him every day of the week.
I mean, that's an obvious one, isn't it, really?
And he's homegrown as well. So for me personally, I'd like to see us bring in another midfielder and Nathan Chalobah this window if Chelsea are willing to send him to Spurs, which notoriously is unlikely, but it has happened. Maybe.
But also, I think I bring up Anthony Gordon and Chalobah together because they're both homegrown, I think. So
Anthony Gordon, I don't give a shit when he was. I'm not interested. Interested.
No, as in our Spurs targeting, because obviously Tanganga's reportedly on his way out. Winks is probably not even going to. Yeah. He's probably gone. He's gone, basically. So we might have to fill in a homegrown player. Is that why you think they're targeting players like this?
Potentially, but I think Chalobah we're looking at as a signing of opportunity. He's young, he's promising, he's tall, he's the kind of mold Conte would want. If you look at him as an individual player, you look at his performances, he's the kind of mold of a player Conte would want to grow and develop with. He's the sort of squad player you look at and you say, I can see why the manager wants him in our squad, rather than we're signing him to fill a hole. And then Anthony Gordon, I don't think he's going to be worth the money. And I've had arguments with people on Twitter about this endless amount of times. For me, I don't think Anthony Gordon's going to be worth the 50, 60 million.
Oh, no, probably not that price. If he was going for 20, 30, I think I'd
if it was 20 to 25, I'd maybe take a punt. But anything more than that, he's not worth it. So I would say no on his.
So I'm going to touch on the centre-half issue because for me, Dyer is not the most reliable, especially if we're talking the centre and the spine of
Dyer,
the team.
I'm going to say this. My opinion on Eric Dyer has vastly changed on and off over the last 18 months. I think he's good enough for what we need right now, as long as Romero's one side and a top centre back the other. We are yet to see if Longley, with his experience playing at the top level for Barcelona, in the Champions League, for France, at times in the Euros and in the World Cup, we're yet to see whether that is enough for him or not. A player
I think we should be targeting someone, who's like more experienced. Because if we're not going to sign, like, obviously Bremer's gone to Juventus, right?
Yeah.
Another central centre half. I think we linked with Mats Kilman. I think at Wolves. Will they
see? I like him as
Probably
a left-handed centre half.
Probably not.
If we were to, I think again, he's another one like Chalobah, who's young, who's promising. Again, 6'4". We're trying to build a team of giants here. Set piece FC, let's go.
We're scoring already from them, so
I know. Yeah. I will touch on that in a minute actually, because our both defending and attacking for set pieces has been completely different this season to how
I don't know about defending, but
it's still been
marking at Chelsea.
They've still been drastically better.
The zonal marking at Chelsea. You could leave Koulibaly on his own.
They do need to switch on when they defend, but other than that, it's been all right. And attacking from set pieces has been a lot better.
Oh yeah, that's I think there was improvement in that for sure.
But for me, you're looking at a centre back, a wide attacking centre back. I don't think this season everyone started this transfer window being so fixated on signing a left-sided centre half, and I just don't see. It's too late in the window now to spend big money on one, and I think we're going to be overspending compared to what we're going to pay next year. So
I'm saying for me, shouldn't we just be targeting someone like I just named this out of my head, like Banu? Like we need like a Chiellini type for me instead of Dyer in the middle, like De Vrij maybe at Inter Milan.
I would agree with that, but for me, if we're going to do that, they need to still not be basically wobbling. They need to be Premier League experienced. Do you know what? I'll tell you, and this is going to sound controversial, but I'll tell you who I would be happy having back on a 2-year contract is Chris Smalling. Now, people will laugh and joke at this. He's tall, he's strong, he's experienced. He was a leader in the Man United team. He's been a leader in the Roma team. And for me, as that centre back, he's that little bit above Dyer. He's not a permanent solution, but for 2 years, I think he'd be brilliant. I really would. I really do think he'd be brilliant. And whether Jose be willing to sell to us, especially this late in the window now, is a different thing. But you know, we've got players that Jose's notoriously been interested in. You know, if we bring in another midfielder, I know he's had interest in Højbjerg again in the past. Obviously missed out on Granit Xhaka, who he sees as a similar kind of profile player. For me, I just think there's potential for that deal to be done. It's not going to be a glamorous signing. No one's going to look at it and say, oh my God, this is outstanding. But I don't know, man. He's been away from England for a few years. He played so well for Roma in Europe last year. So well for Roma. He was an absolute colossal. And he's one of those signings I feel like the fans sit and turn their nose up against. And this is the problem. Who are you going to get who's played 100 plus games in the Premier League, who's willing to come to Spurs, who's got the love and the drive to still play, who's going to be an upgrade on what we've got? What are the options? There aren't.
Well, my suggestion was De Vrij, because at least he's played on the Conte before.
But again, he seems set on staying into Milan. I'll tell you who, and there's no way they'd sell him, but I'd love us to go after John Stones.
Yeah, they would.
I really would. Because he's great on the ball. He's come on leaps and bounds the last few years. I remember, actually, he'll remember, when he stopped playing for Man City and it looked like he was going to go to Arsenal. I said it at the time that he'd be a fantastic signing for Arsenal if they'd have brought him in. Because he's got the experience, got the winning mentality. He's come on leaps and bounds at Man City. That's the kind of player I want us to look at for that central centre-back role. Now, if we have John Stones in the middle, someone like Romero obviously on the right-hand side, and then we bring in, say, and then Deco on the left-hand side, I look at that defence, and if it can play well together, there's no reason why that defence can't be good. We need a Jan Vertonghen type. To be honest, if he was 2 years younger when he left, I would have happily had Jan Vertonghen back.
He'd be fine on that left side, wouldn't he? Really?
He's lost a little bit though. If you watch him play in Portugal now, he's lost a little bit of pace.
Is he?
Yeah, and
I think with Davies though, he's not. I think Longley's meant to be more progressive, but with Davies, whenever he gets the ball, he just looks to go backwards, and he's not progressive.
There has been a few times where Davies played really good passes, but I think because he was so naive as a left back, the attacking passes he played didn't come off. I think he's scared now of making those same passes, which would work in a back three, because he's made so many mistakes making them in the past.
I mean, there was lots of instances, for example, in the first half. I know you didn't watch it, where Davies had the ball, and bearing in mind, by the way, we seem to attack on this side, on
the left
side, the south stand, I think.
Yeah,
on that, yeah. So Perisic is on the side I'm at, and I'll scream, and Perisic would make a run, right? It would be out or in, and Davies would just go backwards. I'm like screaming at Davies, like, he's right there. Just play a pass.
Well, how many times has someone made that kind of pass, given the ball away, and we've conceded?
They weren't like hard. To be honest, they weren't that hard passes.
No, I know, but it's not necessarily about the difficulty of the pass. But sometimes once you've had that PTSD of doing it, if Conte wants the players to be more disciplined, part of that is taking less risks in stupid situations. And if Davies in his mind has gone, I've made that pass 70 times and 38 times it's given the ball away and we've conceded, I'm not going to risk making that pass. So let's progress back and then progress forward again. Which
he's not progressive. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
I get you completely. And I think that, again, that's a problem that gets resolved next summer. Unless the right option becomes available right now.
Yeah. See, I think we'll leave the left centre half situation till next summer as well, because of Gvardiol and Bastoni staying as well. So I think our top two targets is off the table. And Longley's like an assurance signing, because he can also be a backup if he's obviously doesn't make it, or he can potentially be a very good player because of his past in the back three before his time at Barcelona. So it's a no-nonsense signing in the sense that he'll do something. I feel like he'll do something.
Yeah, I think
it might not be the most amazing thing, but he could be a really good player.
I think he might be one of those, once you see him play, like Perisic, once you see him play 2 or 3 games, you sit there and look at him and go, we can't go back now.
I think Perisic for me was always going to be really good, because he just
he's proven
historically he's always been a top player.
And
his attitude, like for Croatia, the Croatian players I find always have the right amount of work rate.
Yeah,
they're fighters. I mean, Perisic has also played for Dortmund, Bayern Munich, Inter Milan.
Yeah, he's had his fair share. He's won the league in every country he's been in. So.
And he even times at Bayern Munich, he wasn't exactly the first choice, was he?
So, no.
And he was still putting in a massive shift. I remember when he would come on.
I just think this is a summer where we make loads of small additions. Next summer is the one where we make 2 or 3 huge additions, where you sit there and go, that's a player that's going to change you. And I think Spurs fans want it to happen this season. If it was going to happen, we'd have made one already.
You think? It's not a surprise late in the window.
No, not unless a player shocks and hands in a transfer request, then no.
Like Bastoni suddenly thinks he finds an English model and he's like, he changes his mind.
I think if someone like Pau Torres went to Villarreal and went, I want to leave right now, then maybe. I'll tell you someone, right? And I said this the day he left. And if you saw my tweet the other day, you know exactly what I'm going to talk about. Juan Foyth is in talks to go to Barcelona.
Oh God, I've heard.
Now I stand by and say the way he's developed when he was on loan at Villarreal, in that right-sided centre back, he would have been fucking perfect. Because we've got the ability to play those crosses. I said it from the day he fucking left. I don't want to hear no Spurs fans. You only jumped on a bandwagon because he's going to fuck off. I said it the minute he fucking left. On loan with an option to buy for 15 million, I knew it was a mistake. And
but we can say it's about a lot of players though that we sell and then but in this, like Aurier is another one for me.
But go back, guys.
You can say Aurier could fit well in the system instead of Emerson, couldn't you? Or Trippier.
No, because Aurier was just a fucking loose cannon. Trippier, yeah, I agree.
There's lots of players like this.
But I never said that when Trippier left at the time.
I know, but I'm saying I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying like there's loads
why
of
there
players we've
wasn't a
sold in the
buyback
past.
clause. There should have been a buyback clause in that contract. Because if we'd have bought him back now, to be honest, when he did play for us, he didn't look terrible. I remember the game when we played against Crystal Palace, he scored a corner. He looked really solid defensively. He was great threat in the box. And I'm sitting there thinking, there's a player here. And I always believed when we signed him, we thought of PSG, Man City, and someone else at the time to sign him. I always thought it's a player you can see him progressing in. You can see the mold he fits. And even now in Conte's system, as a right-sided centre-back, the passing ability he's got, the composure on the ball he's got, the European experience he's gained, he'd be the perfect fit. And I would love to see if Barcelona can't register another player, which let's hope to fucking God they don't. I'd love to see us in the last few weeks in the window go and test the water and see if he's willing to come back.
A remontada, as they say nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just borrowing urban language right now.
No, but do you know what I mean? I think.
But a lot of fans have been saying that. It's not obviously you said it from before. I remember actually, but as in a lot of fans have been saying, Foyth would be a great fit for the back three now.
He'd be the perfect player.
Sanchez.
I think you have. I think arguably you could play Foyth as the left, get someone in the middle, and then Romero as the right. I know Conte likes the left footed. He's right footed, but and I know Conte likes the left footed. There's nothing stopping him sort of cutting in a little bit and then playing the same crossfield pass, but it being an outswinger rather than an inswinger, if that makes sense.
I don't think Conte is as open enough to do something like that. Really, I think if Foyth would come, he'd play off the right and Sanchez will go.
But then, would you trust Romero in the centre?
I think Romero has played in the centre before.
He has.
I think he likes him on the right.
But this is the thing. At that point, then Foyth doesn't fit. We'll just go on the Football Manager on the in-game editor and change the left footed.
My main issue is actually Dyer. I just think we need someone like experience in the middle instead of him.
But you say experience. You say experience, right? Let me.
We're not going to sign a Bremer. Obviously, Bremer's gone to Juventus now, so you need to look at alternate options. Like you get someone like De Vrij for 2 years.
Give me 2 seconds. I'm just checking something. He would be if he had. So bearing in mind, Eric Dyer has played over 200 appearances at the top level: Champions League, Europa League, for England, for the Premier League. This is going to sound really harsh, but you don't want experience. You just don't want Dyer. Because Dyer is the experience. He's been around for so long. He just
makes mistakes every game, though.
Yeah, but you can't have both. You can't have a player with experience and a perfect play. We're not going to get everything. We're Spurs. We're not Man City. We're not Liverpool. We're not, we're not the players. And you say he makes the mistakes as well. But what's more important? The fact that he knows how to play and he fits into that squad well. He's a good character and he has got abundance of appearance, or he makes the occasional mistake. You've been one of Dyer's biggest critics over the year, and so have I.
Yeah.
But for me, I've accepted the fact that Conte likes him in that role. He's great progressively. He's got a bit to be desired defensively, and the right centre backs either side of him could be a perfect fit.
I'm just saying, if we're being brutally honest, I don't see us winning the title with Dyer as centre back.
I don't see us winning the title with Harry Winks in the squad, but
Harry Winks. Yeah, I mean, he's still here when the window.
My biggest fear when Conte had the spat with Tuchel, I thought Ryan Mason was going to be in the dugout and Winks would start.
Yeah, someone tweeted
that. I saw the memes of it on Twitter, and do you know what? It had me in hysterics. But
I think someone tweeted it as a joke, actually.
To be fair, I took it seriously. It kind of worried me a little bit.
And Winks would get a game.
I think for me personally, if we can get the full sale of Ndombele next year, full sale of Lo Celso next year, next summer, I'd go and bid for John Stones in the centre. I'd go and bid for Ndika, or I still want Pau Torres for me on the left side of centre back. I think he's got the right profile for it. His passing range is fantastic. I think that back three is brilliant. It really is.
So as for a creative player, you mentioned
Malinowski. I think
I like Milinkovic-Savic would be the ideal one. But I just read just now, that apparently Pate Matisar leaves on loan. Spurs might sign another midfielder, so that's quite interesting.
If who leaves on loan?
Pape Matar.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, it looks like we're going to sign another midfielder, another attacking player with Brian Hill leaving. Which I'll talk about my
I
opinion
just
on that.
quite like Brian Hill, but
I was going to say I'll talk about my opinion on that in a minute. But I think we need a player who can play in the attack, but also can play the attacking version of a 3-man midfield. That has to be priority, and it seems to me like Malinowski fits that. So, you know, maybe that's what Conte's looking at. In terms of Brian Hill, I'm going to hold my hands up and say I think we're going to end up with another 1-4 situation.
I quite like Brian Hill a lot.
There and turn around and say he'll be playing for Barcelona in 5 years' time at the top of his game. And
I think he's got quality, personally.
He's got quality. He's short. He's agile. He's quick. Weaves in and out of players. Like I said last time I actually spoke to you about it, he reminds me a lot of Hazard. The way his body type is, the way he
reminds me of Modric, personally. I know
it's just the hair that does that. I think. To be honest.
No, just like also it's close control and like obviously he likes everything on the floor. I'm saying you know when Modric joined, I'm not saying Brian Hill's a central midfielder by the way, but when Modric joined, Harry played him as a 10 behind first game, right? And then eventually he moved into wide left in a 4. It was like a 4-4-2 or 4-1-2, whatever it was, 4-4-1-2. And then eventually Modric ended up playing in the middle along with side like Palacios or Sandro or Parker, whoever played alongside Huddleston, Genus, and made them all look good. Even Genus.
I was going to say, miracle to make Dwayne Genus look good.
So I'm saying, as in with Brian Hill, maybe the best way to bed him in would have been to like play him in a less responsible role, maybe in the front three.
I mean, half the problem was the fact that his family didn't want him to leave.
I don't want him to leave. I actually quite like Brian Hill.
His family didn't want him to leave Spain in the first place. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the deal helped us get rid of Lamela, and chances are we'll make profit on him. So, in that regard, it's not a bad move. But I don't know, man. It just doesn't sit right with me at all, personally. But we'll see.
Another issue I've heard about Gil is because they loaned him out.
Yeah.
He didn't obviously go through the whole year being in England. And apparently, it's bad for players not to say you came from another country, right? And
you need to spend a whole year embedding and then see how you do the following year.
Yeah, as in like because he left. Did he go on 6-month loan? Was it 6 months?
Yeah.
He should have stayed the whole year and like ploughed through it. Whatever he was.
Loan him to Forest. They're signing every fucker at the minute.
It probably wouldn't be a bad loan for him, to be honest.
No, I don't think it would actually. To be fair, because if he was somewhere like Forest, I'd love to see him in their left wing back role when they're going to attack a game.
Didn't he play him as was it left wing back or right?
Conte did a little bit, yeah. But I think he personally wants to be a winger, though. That's the problem.
I think he could. I know it sounds a bit far cry, but I think he could play all across the front three if he was like built up enough.
And I don't see him as a striker, but I see him on. I could see him on the right, I could see him on the left, and I could see him at left wing back. But again, it's part of it's where the player wants to play, where the player wants to play.
I just needs to hit the gym, basically.
Potentially, yeah. I'll tell you something. I was thinking about this the other day, actually, about an interview that Trent had with BT Sport about 3 years ago, where he was talking about why he actually got a start in the Liverpool team. And it was down to Nathaniel Klein was injured. They had no right backs. He was a box-to-box midfielder at the time, and they said, look, you can move out there and maybe play for Liverpool, or you can sit and wait 10 years behind Henderson and whoever the fuck was there at the time. And he said, you know what? I've got nothing to lose. Let's try it. Now, again, people are going to shoot me for this. And that
sounds like my situation, actually, when I was playing 8-a-side. So I joined the 8-a-side team, right?
Nothing like a bit of modesty, is there?
Yeah, and then obviously I wanted to play like further forward, but they were like, oh, we need someone to play in defense. And I was like, I can't play in the middle because they're back three, right? Can't play in the middle. So I was like, I'll play it on the left. And eventually I'm playing on the right now. But like now I'm like actually like a pretty good defender in 8-a-side. Like it's actually quite surprising. And if you see me at 5-a-side, I play as a striker. Right, I play as a striker on 5-a-side.
For me personally, I play the exact same system that Spurs play on in real life. I play that on Football Manager, right? I've spent the whole year developing it. I've been invincible with quite a few different teams. One of the key things I did in one of the saves was I converted one of my box-to-box midfielders to a right wing back based on the inspiration of what Trent did. And I can tell you that with the right athleticism, it was outstanding. Is it worth looking at? I'm not going to say Harry Winks before anyone kills me. Is it
remember someone
worth
suggesting that
looking
back
at
in the
potentially buying a box-to-box midfielder with the athleticism and the experience and the quality in the final third to play on the right wing back?
You know what? Another bad example I thought of. I hate to bring this up
Oh,
because he was an Arsenal player. Do you remember Flamini when they had that right
yeah,
back issue?
yeah,
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 and he ended up
yeah.
playing there, and he ended up actually doing really well,
They
even
play
though he was
really well.
a
Yeah,
midfielder. But another
I
one I
would.
mentioned that we've already trying to do this was Lucas Moura. He's
Yeah, see, I don't think Lucas Moura's got. He's a lovely guy. Don't get me wrong, and he's got the pace, but he hasn't got the consistency end product. I think he's great defensively. He's shown that in the past. He hasn't got the consistent end product in the final third. At that point, it's basically another Emerson. So you kind of, he's got a bit of pace, got the athleticism, got the energy, got the love for the club, but his end product isn't consistent enough. I think
Do
that's
you
a fair
think Lucas
analysis of
is
both players.
forced because obviously he's not going to get a game out the front
Say that again.
three? Really, if you think you look at the front three, apart from like a very very
But
part
he's
time
happy to be
role,
a squad player, and he's the kind of player we need to bring off the bench late in a game.
yeah, I'm
The
saying.
pace, the
But as in,
energy.
if he wants a regular start, does he? Because obviously the right wing back role, even though
But I think he's
Doherty's my
interested.
preference.
I think he's more interested in playing a part in the squad than he is starting.
But I'm saying if Lucas wants to start, right? Let's say, I'm talking just say he
Yeah,
wants to
yeah,
start,
yeah.
right? If you look at the roles he can play, because the right wing back, we haven't signed a Hakimi, have we? Right? We signed a youngster in Spence. We've got Emerson, who I know he's starting the last few games. I'm not saying he's like been bad, but ideally he's not really the quality of right wing back that we
Yeah.
want if we're going to win something, right? And then you got Doherty, who for me is on paper he's like
He's
the
the perfect
starter.
fit.
He's a perfect, but Doherty only had like a handful. If we're being honest, a handful of games where he was that level that we wanted him to be at, right? And he has this injury as well. So Lucas, if he looks at it, maybe the right wing back slot is his best shot at regular football if I could make it his own, right? So
See, this is gonna sound bad, but I kind of want I want someone with the same ball playing ability as James Ward-Prowse, but at right wing back. And I think right. Let's look at the
let's
best
sign
right
James
wing.
Ward-Prowse then, as he can right wing back.
Yeah, it's not quick enough. But I'm never happy. Let's look at the top options that we would sign if we could sign anyone at right wing back. Let's look at the top options. It would be Trent, it would be Cancelo, and it would be Hakimi.
They're going
Now
to sign two of them.
look at the price of those three players. You're going to be looking at 80, 90 million pounds. Why spend that when you can go and spend? I'm trying to think of a good example. When you can go and spend 50 million, for example, on someone like trying to think of the best example. I'm going to struggle to think of an example here now. I've said that.
Because I think Mahaley we were linked with because he went to PSG, didn't he? I think.
No, he's still at Atlanta. He's still at Atlanta.
Is he? Oh.
Yeah.
Might think of someone else.
Like if we had
bring back Carl Walker, I guess.
No, he couldn't cross when he was here before. It's not changed.
I'm trying to like there isn't really.
So imagine someone like obviously he's quite small, right? But let's say we didn't have Harris at left wing back. This is going to sound really fucking stupid, and bear with me here for my reason. Someone like John McGinn at left wing back, box to box, energy. He's okay defensively. He's okay attacking. He's not exceptional in either one, but he's well rounded. That kind of player is what I would look for in a wing back. And you effectively want a failed attacking midfielder who can learn to defend.
Let's think. Failed attacking midfielders. There must be some out there.
Mate, we've had half of them.
I was going to say Sissoko, but
see someone like Paulinho and how he would have been a perfect right wing back.
A bit too slow, I think.
A little bit, but he was athletic. He was strong. His stamina was great. His end product was good. It was consistent, and he could bully a player off the ball. Realistically, in a wing back role, that's all you really need.
Plus the crossing.
But again, that's where you then gravitate from a slightly more defensive box-to-box midfielder to a slightly more attacking box-to-box midfielder.
But also, I've noticed how you probably noticed as well. But Kulusevski obviously is the creative spark down the right because Emerson's end product isn't there.
Yeah.
If we were to sign a more established right wing back, do you see Kulusevski's role changing somewhat?
No,
If we had
no.
creativity on
I
that
think
side,
if anything, it will help enhance it even more.
because what I'm saying, because Son obviously is more of like the guy at the end of things. He's not exactly the
But
most creative.
I still
The most
see.
creative.
The only difference I would see is after playing a 1-2, rather than being the one to play the pass, he might play it off to a fullback and drift inside. But
I mean,
again,
Perisic's crossing on the weekend, I don't know how much you saw it, was
it was
incredible.
exceptional.
Honestly,
Absolutely.
there's some of the crosses he pulled out where he was. I don't know how he did it, honestly. There was one where I thought it was like the ball was dead and buried. It almost went off. And he just pulls his cross with his left foot and just almost went
But
fell
then
on
look at the
inside.
cross Kulusevski put in for Session's goal against Southampton.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
That's what makes me say at right wing back he could do a job.
He could. Even I think it was even mentioned.
But then who do you add to the front three? Do you have Richarlison? Potentially. Do you know what? Against Forest for the banner, I'd love to see us go with Lloris, Perisic, Davies, Dyer, Sanchez, Kulusevski, Bentancur, and Basuma. Richarlison, Kane, Son, and see what happens.
That'd be really interesting lineup, actually.
Because there's not really a physical difference between Kulusevski and Perisic. There's not really an athleticism or there's not really a pace difference. I don't really feel there's not really an athleticism difference.
I think Perisic has that extra yard from what I
see. A little bit extra, but to be honest, Kulusevski's got the skill in a 1v1 that Perisic hasn't.
No,
so they're both balanced. They're both very balanced players. I would argue Perisic is slightly more defensive. I would argue Kulusevski's probably a little bit more direct in the way he attacks. So I don't know.
Do you think with the use of Emerson, do you think we're seeing? I hate to reference this, but do you remember Mourinho used to have his fullbacks, one to sit and one to go?
Yeah.
And we had Davies.
Yeah, we are seeing a little bit of that.
And Aurier would go. So on the other side, you've got Emerson.
Because effectively,
because Kulusevski's been a creative spark, right? And Emerson's sort of like taking the back seat. But then you got Perisic is like going right. I don't see how
Perisic is going up.
How far? He's literally
Perisic is going up to the line. Son is tucking just below him. Kane further forward. Kulusevski dropping further. It almost creates like a zigzag across the attack. You got Perisic, Son, Kane, Kulusevski. That's not a problem, but at that point, this then supports my box-to-box midfielder theory. You have a box-to-box midfielder at right wing back. They can drift into the space in between to create a three-man block above your three centre-backs. So you've effectively got 3-3, two that are pushed slightly wider. You've got your fullback, you've got your wing-back on one side, and your right winger on another, and then you've got your two attacking players. You can tell I play too much Football Manager because... I'm used to going into people around. But that would be as you attack, you'd have the right wing back, the box to box kind of player, drift into that space as a central midfielder, creating a three-man block in front of the defense that's spread out. You've got the anchor in midfield, you've got Basuma, who's slightly more progressive, and then you've got the box to box midfielder who can just do literally everything. And then you've got sort of
unless we're going to try and convert Basuma into a wing back.
No. Do you know what? We made a laugh at the time when Poch played him at right wing back, but someone like Sissoko with a bit better, with a bit more like of a brain, someone like Sissoko with the ability of Kevin De Bruyne. Someone like Sissoko,
Zinchenko, basically.
Yeah. Someone like that. For me, he's not a box-to-box midfielder, but he's not a traditional fullback. The way he plays.
Zinchenko.
And we had someone like that on the right-hand side who can drift into that space, create the block in midfield. Kulusevski's defensive enough and quick enough to get back, same as Perisic. Son's there to cover the left-hand side below Perisic if he loses the ball. Kane's up front. And then obviously you've got Kulusevski on the right-hand side. For me personally, that would be how I would go in transition. But you need the right wing-back with the ability, the understanding, the ability to read the game to do that. And there will be someone in another league. Someone, do you know someone who would be perfect actually? And I'm going to mention Football Manager again. I've got PTSD from when he got sent off on a friend of mine's save, which cost him the Champions League. But someone like Konrad Laimer, he'd be the perfect fit. He's good enough defensively. He's good enough offensively. His athleticism, his pace, his energy is brilliant. I tell you, do you know what? I've just thought of the absolute perfect player, Sabitzer.
He won't leave now, I think.
He won't. Which again,
Munich or not?
Yeah, he's at Bayern, but he's not playing at Bayern. So what difference does it make?
Obviously, he's not going to play at Bayern.
So he's got the pace to jump back and forth. He's got the defensive ability. He's got the attacking ability. We've seen some of the passes he can play. He can drift into that space and then ping passes to either wing, to Kane. Do you know what? I'm so tempted to try this off and see what happens. For me, someone like Sabitzer, you look at him as a profile, he's not that different to Perisic.
I think you forget that also Conte has also converted. He converts more wingers into wingbacks rather than fullbacks into wingbacks.
I've had loads of questions on the TikTok. Someone said, "Come on, you Spurs." Someone said, "Yo." Someone said, "Where are you playing?" We're on a friend's YouTube channel. Someone said, "Come on, you Spurs." Yes, indeed. Sarta Villa opinion. Villa are just shit, aren't they? Liverpool Gerrard 5-0. It's not Monday yet. They're not actually winning 5-0. Anyway, but yeah, I think. Do you know what? I would take a gamble on that. It's not going to be any worse than what we've got at the moment.
No, but I think I don't know. It's confusing to me. I think the right wing back situation, because we signed Spence, it's like, well, we're not going to sign another one now, are we? Really?
I would. There was a lot of interest from Emerson abroad. I would say fuck it, sell Emerson, keep Doherty, and get a box-to-box midfielder to play right wing back. I'm telling you, it would work.
Sissoko, what are you up to?
Oh, Musa Sissoko. Oh, Musa Sissoko.
It's a shame Dembele is in China or something. He's got those injuries.
No, he's gone to Nantes in France.
Is he?
Yeah, I've actually still got my Sissoko shirt that I bought as a meme. I've actually still got it.
Do you know who Cody Mack is on Twitter?
No.
So basically, he made a tweet saying, "If Emerson scores today, I'll buy an Emerson shirt."
Oh yeah, no, I did see that. Yeah, I did see that.
And he got the Emerson shirt, and since then, Emerson's been playing really well.
Yeah.
So I blame him. I was like, "It's your fault. Emerson's still here." And you know what? I kind of buy into the fact Emerson's going to stay now, because also when Richarlison signed, there was a picture of him, Lucas, and Richarlison as together, like a clique on Instagram. So I was like, oh no, they're going to clique now.
Did you see Emerson in goal for Richarlison's penalty on Instagram earlier? Mate, honestly, let's just put him in goal for the banner. It'll be funny as hell.
His new position.
Every time Emerson saves, he's one day closer to Daniel Levy selling the club. We'll see what happens. But I do think, you look at Chelsea now, right? Look at what they're doing with Ruben Loftus-Cheek. He's looked better at wing back for Chelsea than he ever looked in central midfield.
But he was also a winger before, wasn't he? Or not? Am I wrong?
Yeah, but when he was
I think I was thinking Hudson-Odoi.
When he was 17, he started out on the wing. But it was never anything long term, to be honest. I do think if we were to get that right kind of midfielder profile in and put him in central midfield, I think it'd be perfect.
Why don't we try and Pape Matar right wing back? I don't know.
Do you know what? The kind of profile is right. He's just not. He's not ready yet.
Experienced enough or anything.
He's not experienced enough yet. No.
But he tends to convert more wingers into wing backs. So
yeah,
that's why we're living with Adama Traore.
Yeah, I think when I look at it personally, I look at what Trent has done, and it is possible. It's doable. You get the right player, the right work rate, the right mentality. It's more than doable.
Okay, so you gave a few suggestions, but we're still not solved the right wing back problem.
No, we haven't. No, We've gone from James Ward-Prowse to Sabitzer to Sissoko. Yeah.
It's like Aurier. People mention Aurier, but
he was just a loose. He had a couple of good games. Yeah, no.
How about someone like Semedo at Wolves?
He's not good enough.
Or their left wing backs, Al Nazar.
No, he's left-footed, so not on the right side.
He actually really impressed me yesterday. I thought he had a pretty good game. Because they changed both their wing backs.
Do you know what? If he wasn't paralysed every other game. Someone like Tielemans would be perfect in that role.
Yeah.
But he's always injured and he's not athletic enough for that role.
I think it costs like 40-50 million as well.
Yeah, I'm not doing that for a gamble. Get Sabitzer on loan for 1 year, play him at right wing back. Watch what happens. I'm going to do that on the next football to save my side. I'm going to go and sign him this evening on as a right wing back and see how he plays. Yeah, I'm telling you now, I'm the next Pep Guardiola. But no, right. For all seriousness,
not Arteta, right?
Let's look at some of the players that have been converted in the past. Cancelo was a winger, been an outstanding fullback. Trent was a central midfielder, been an incredible right wing back, arguably one of the best in the world. Hakimi was a winger, brought back. Kyle Walker was originally a winger, brought back. Although I'm kind of doing the suggestion of that we should all get wingers here, but
do you know Adama is the one that doesn't seem to go away? But for me, I don't really want Adama Traore.
I don't either. It's not for me. It's not for me at all.
I'd have him at Arsenal.
But we're sitting here talking about Emerson having no end product. There's no point in having a player there's no point in having a player who can actually make it to the byline and who gives the ball away anyway.
I don't like personally. Adama's not the answer. We were linked with Alan St. Maxim, but I don't think he's
not for right wing back. Fuck that.
No.
But Trippier, right? Let's look at his stats for a second. If you were to play Trippier as a box-to-box midfielder, look at his overall quality. He's athletic. He's not too slow. Stamina's good. Agility's good. Whatever. Good passing. Good attacking stats. Can play a pass. Can defend. Trippier is effectively a box-to-box midfielder at right wing.
Play on the wing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why is almost a midfielder going into wing back no different? Wing back going into a midfielder going into. Sorry, why is someone with a midfield quality who's now gone to wing back and proven himself there any different from us taking a better level midfielder and putting them there anyway?
Good point. It's a solution's quite hard, I don't know.
You're not convinced, but I'm telling you, I think it'd be better than what you think it would be.
But I'm saying to sign this central midfielder to convert is, I think Bruno Guimaraes, but I don't think he has a work rate for it.
No. But you're saying to convert, they're effectively, the only time they're not playing central midfield is when we're defending.
Joe Linton.
No, because when we are defending, I don't trust him as a fullback. We effectively need someone who can defend in a back five when we're defending and then play central midfield when we're attacking.
Yeah. Or as a winger, however you want to say it.
Yeah, potentially. See, that's where maybe he's not quite defensively enough, he's not physical enough, but that Nkunku profile is right.
Play anywhere Nkunku, so
he's not going to come to Spurs and play at right wing back. It's not. Can
you imagine? Connie says, "I promise you to play in the front three." Oh no, you're playing right wing back today. He's like, what? Nkunku's class.
I think that's where I go back to Sabitzer. If we're attacking and he's in that midfield three, all he's got to do is just drop deeper when we're defending. It's not. It's not. It's not impossible.
Because whenever I've really Googled right wing backs, I get Trent Alexander-Arnold, I get Cancelo.
Who started out as a midfielder? Cancelo started out as a winger.
Hakimi as number one. There's no real other options. I mean, is the Leipzig guy still there then? I thought his name.
Mukiele, no, he's gone to PSG. And again, you're sitting there talking about wanting a fullback who can attack. He's not that.
I'm just thinking
when you watch him play, he's not. You've been playing FIFA too much. Just picked out the first AP players that come off on the transfer market when you press third.
It's like, he would do good. But like
for me,
I think the right wing back issue won't be solved this summer. I don't see.
No. I'm saying it's a bit sort of white wing back, people. Get with the program. Trust me.
Is there not a player that we have within the squad who could have a go there?
Do you know what? Interestingly, a player I suggested in that position, in that role.
Harvey Barnes, what?
My phone has logged me out of Twitter. Hold on a second.
Zaha?
No.
What? This is Spurs ITK Hub. Two players would never rule out are Dodoma Traore and Wilfried Zaha. And
Give me 2 seconds because I just got a notification on Twitter which relates to what we're talking about, and one of the players I mentioned is this possible solution. But I need to log in because I changed my password earlier because I forgot it. Bear with me while Twitter logs in.
Guehi.
Right. So one of the players who I mentioned for that role, Lima won't join Bayern as he's staying at Leipzig. It's understandable Bayern wanted him. But now we've kept him. He's staying. That's been clear to me since 4 weeks. Their offer was never serious.
Who? Sabitzer?
Konrad Lima.
Oh, the one you mentioned.
Yeah.
Well,
is there a deal
to be on the phone to
done?
Paratici tonight then?
He's better defensively, but he's not quite got a little bit attacking. But
because obviously, I guess
go back to looking through our squad. Sorry, because you said to look through the squad and see if there's anyone. I love it how we're just looking at who to convert.
So here we go, right? Spurs ITK Cup. Finally, we can start talking about incomings again. 50 million and Anthony Gordon will be ours. Harvey Barnes also one we like, but costs 50 million.
See, I could see Harvey Barnes as the right wing back.
I like Harvey Barnes a lot, actually. I think he's a good player. The other names were Adama Traore and Wilfried Zaha.
Yeah, they can get stuffed. So
Zaha was in quality the past week.
I would have said Matt Doherty, but he's already meant to be a right wing back. So it doesn't work. Ben Sancour would be the right kind of player.
I did think of Ben Sancour as well.
But then we need another box-to-box midfielder in midfield. If we're going to do that, we might as well sign one to start fucking right wing back. No,
Ben Davies.
No.
Sanchez.
What, Davinson Sanchez?
Yeah.
Are you having a laugh? He can't play a 2-yard pass. Fucking hell.
You imagine him a right wing back running down the line and just losing the ball.
I want to have a look and see where.
See, Harvey Barnes is a player I like a lot as well.
I wanted to see if I could get a heat map up from when Sarr was at Met, because I think he's got the potential in the long term. Not in the short term, but in the long term. It still annoys me we didn't get Sabitzer 2 years ago, because I think he'd have sold. I guarantee you, if we'd have had Sabitzer then 2 years ago, Conte would be playing him at right wing back right now.
Mourinho wanted him, didn't he? Sabitzer was like his number one target. But obviously, managers at Tottenham don't always get what they want.
They rarely get what they want, actually.
Yeah.
This is an anomaly. We're going back to signing the next Harry Winks next season. Harry Winks is the next Harry Winks. He hasn't stopped being Harry Winks, which is why we're trying to get fucking rid of him.
Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah. Anyway, so I think
if they'd have changed his name to, I'm not going to say what I was going to say. Actually,
Winksinio.
No, I was going to say if they'd have changed his name to Madeline, we might have lost him finally. But that's a bit.
Watch his stream get like removed or something.
No, it won't do. YouTube has come down a level. I do apologise, but it was funny. I couldn't help it.
But like Sampdoria, linked with him.
Say
Sampdoria was the one that sort of linked with him recently.
Not a chance he leaves there. The guy somehow thinks he's a Premier League winning midfielder. He looks at himself in the mirror and sees Kevin De Bruyne, and it just hasn't sung for him yet.
I don't think he's Kevin De Bruyne.
I know he's not Kevin De Bruyne, if that's any consolation. The only good thing Winks has ever done in his Spurs shirt was the last-minute winner against West Ham and the last-minute winner against Fulham when we won 2-1.
Like, Winks was one of those players. We seem to have these obviously English because we're in English.
They come through, we think they're hard, and they turn out to be absolute dog shit.
Yeah, we've had this.
Okay, let me put this to you.
Tom Carroll.
He wasn't known for his defensive ability. But imagine someone like Frank Lampard at that right wing back role, drifting into that space and then playing those passes, creating those chances. If Zinchenko was right-footed, it'd have been perfect.
Honestly, Zinchenko is a quality player. I'm actually quite jealous they got him.
He's been doing it.
Please don't float his ego because I get enough of it as it is. But
Honestly,
he would.
I would
If
take
he was
him.
right-footed, he'd have been the
I'd
perfect.
take him over
profile.
Sessegnon, to be honest.
If you look at the way he plays for Arsenal, he is right. I hate to admit it, but if you look at the way he plays for Arsenal, he drifts into that space, into midfield.
He's like a De Bruyne on the wing.
Just because he's ginger. No,
honestly, like his passing, even when he was at City, I thought his passing was like really, really good for what he.
I mean, no offense. If Arsenal can do it with Zinchenko, I'm sure we can find a player to do it with.
I would have honestly. There's a number of left wing backs I would have taken over Sessegnon or left backs. Zinchenko was definitely one of them. I mean, Cucurella was the other.
Chelsea overpaid for him, I think, to be honest.
I think he's quality though.
He is, but 60 million, 62 million. What the fuck?
But would City have sold to us? I don't know.
You could buy 2 Sissokos for that. I still have 2 million left over.
I'd rather have Cucurella over 2 Sissokos.
It's mad because I've known you longer than when that transfer window happened. Because I remember getting a message to you from that morning. Did we really just bid 30 million for Sissoko? I counted it, and you were like, "Yes, get the fuck in." And then 3 minutes later, we got a notification going, Spurs have agreed to deal. We'd rather come to Spurs. He's going down to London. He's left Merseyside. And I was like, fuck's sake.
Honestly, I was actually angry watching Sky Sports News that night when we signed Sissoko.
That has been, without doubt, the worst deadline day Spurs have ever had.
Honestly, like, my dad was like, why are you so pissed off? I was like, because we signed Sissoko. He's like, but we signed a player. I was like, no, we didn't sign the right player.
Yeah, but it's, mate, it does my head in this person. They go, oh, but we need to sign someone. Mate, you'd fucking sign, like, yeah, it's just, it does my head in. But, yeah,
anyway,
enough on box-to-box midfielders being converted. Yeah. I'm telling you. Next Pep Guardiola. Yeah. You've heard it here first.
Okay, so I think
I'm going to do you know what? I'm going to do a football manager video at some point where I do a Spurs save, convert Sabitzer to right wing back, play throughout the season, guarantee the guy hits like 40 assists. Just watch this space.
Okay, so I think it's time to end the stream. So if you want to plug your TikTok.
Yes, if you guys head over to the glorious TikTok, let me find my TikTok name. My phone's going to go bang because the TikTok's already on live on the thing. But I've got 3 new followers. If you go over to TikTok, it is you can actually see my phone screen now. The quality is that much better. It's DA_vids19. And in the TikTok, on the TikTok, you can click the little YouTube icon, which is just there, or the link in the thing. Head over to my YouTube channel. I started posting again. Football Manager content, Spurs content. Got a new series with the knobhead over there starting over the next few weeks. So it's going to be really good fun. A lot of laughs, a lot of jokes. I'm also streaming on Twitch whenever I get a second spare, but that link's all on the YouTube. So head over there, drop me a sub. Yeah, really, really appreciate it. It's nice to actually have something to plug because last time I was on here, I didn't. So
no, you were just like, follow my TikTok.
Follow my TikTok. Yeah, you still need to post your clips on TikTok.
My first clip ever on TikTok.
Do you know what you need to do? Clip this video for what the comment I made about Harry Winks and put that on TikTok.
Okay.
Your first video has to be me comparing getting rid of Harry Winks to losing Madeline McCann. Anyway,
yes. Okay.
Lovely to chat to you again.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.